ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Jerusalem's Gate. Looks like the Taliban has hit again with another suicide bomb in Afghanistan. We don't know how the peace talks, if they're going to resume, if the firing by Trump of John Bolton is seen as the Taliban as a plus. The word has it that the Taliban didn't particularly like John Bolton. But again, they struck. We're at a pivotal point with the Taliban. Either we're going to continue fighting them, or they're going to come to the peace table. It's, our Secretary of State stated that their talks are open on our side, that they would like to sit down and talk. But we'll see what happens with the Taliban. But there's still a massive amount of bloodshed in Afghanistan. It's our country's longest war we've ever been in, as we all know. As always, I have a video that goes greater in detail of this from Al Jazeera. Again, a suicide bomb in Afghanistan kills Afghan soldiers. The U.S. and Afghanistan are in a very unique situation that maybe some peace talks can resume, and we can put this particular bloody war to rest. But even if a peace agreement was obtained, will that stop different faction groups fighting? Personally, I don't think it will, because it just so much is going on in that part of the country. But that majority of young men make their money by fighting, but they're given money by countries to fight. And a lot of young men, that's their only source of income, is to obtain money to fight. But here comes the video. We love you. Thank you for tuning in to Jerusalem's Gate. Hey, if you would like to support Jerusalem's Gate, we're a non-profit channel, as you know. But we do ask a favor, that you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And hey, if you like the video, if you found it informative, give us a thumbs up. It would help us, not with money, because we do not make money here. We're not asking you to do this for money, but we're asking to get our video out for more coverage. With that being said, let's go to the video.
The suicide bomber struck in the afternoon at an Afghan Army Special Forces base at Rishkhor, 25 kilometers from Afghanistan's capital, Kabul. The Taliban claim responsibility. For the last week, there has been apprehension on the streets of Kabul that the Taliban would launch a violent backlash in response to President Trump's cancellation of peace talks. So far, a major response hasn't materialized. Inside the city, one rocket landed close to the US Embassy in the Green Zone. There was little damage and no casualties. The lack of attacks is being seen by some as a positive.
They are still thinking that there is a possibility for resumption of attack. So if there are more attacks in Kabul, they will further exasperate the situation, which they do not want. It's a sign of hope for all of us that.
Trump had said the talks were dead, but Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has indicated the US is still interested in striking a deal. And the departure of the National Security Advisor John Bolton, who opposed the Taliban talks, is seen as another encouraging move. It has given hope that there will be a resumption of talks, but there is always a caveat.
Now this process can go either way. Either they will resume the peace talk, or either they will just try to double their power and go to a very harsh and deadly situation.
There is growing international pressure for the US to get back to the negotiating table, but also an expectation that any talks should include a ceasefire, and with good reason. Away from the capital, the fighting is reported to have intensified, with the US and the Afghan government forces claiming big successes against the Taliban. The Afghan army says it captured this base in Badakhshan province on Wednesday after 5 years in Taliban hands. The US claims its recent aerial bombing attacks killed 1,000 Taliban fighters in a 4-day period, and those bombardments may be affecting Taliban morale as well. In Kunar province, more than 150 Taliban and ISIL fighters have surrendered to government forces. But the civilians caught in the fighting are still paying a high price.
Many civilians are still being killed as the fighting intensifies. We have asked all sides to reduce the use of force in heavily populated areas, but they don't listen to us.
There is some hope that peace talks will be resumed, but probably not until after the forthcoming Afghan presidential elections. They've always been a catalyst for Taliban attacks and violence, but with the prospect of new talks, many here are hoping that this time it will be different. Tony Berkeley, Al Jazeera, Kabul.